I'm an early years trainer and consultant with more than 40 years experience of working in early years. What are my interests? Work-wise, I am passionate about active learning and children being involved in risky play and in shared control with children. Outside of work, my interests are horses, dogs, and cooking. I think I enjoyed being an Ofsted Inspector I was an inspector for 6 years. And I was an employed inspector, so I was actually a civil servant working for Ofsted, which is a little bit different to the OIs that are now self-employed and subcontract to Ofsted. How did it help me? Gave me quite a lot of confidence, actually, in trusting what I know and what I believe about children. I think despite all of the urban myths that go around that Ofsted wants this, Ofsted wants that, when you're actually within Ofsted, you understand, or you reaffirm, I suppose, that it's all about the outcomes for children, the best possible outcomes for children, and how people get there is up to them. Ofsted's role is simply about making sure that those outcomes are there and are the best quality. I actually did my BA whilst I was with Ofsted as well. And I was one of those who was more or less dragged kicking and screaming into studying again. I was mid-40s when I did my BA. And I was sort of, no, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But actually, it's probably one of the most valuable things I've done, because that really did show me how to back up my opinions with actual proven research and theories. So all in all, working for Ofsted, as far as I'm concerned, was a really valuable experience. The truth is that I wanted to travel. My father was in the RAF, and when I was younger I travelled a lot to lots of different countries, and when we finally settled in England I hadn't lost the travel bug, surprisingly, and I didn't want a boring behind the desk sort of job, so someone suggested I be a nanny. And that's actually how I got into early years, I'm afraid, not through any, I was 16. I quite liked children, but I didn't have any particular passion. I wanted to travel, so I started off coming down to London from Sheffield as a nanny. I worked for some very rich and famous families. And when I left nannying, I think that's when my passion started to grow, really. When I started to work with a team of other professionals. And I learned from them. I had some great role models who were really passionate about children. I then discovered High Scope, and that really made light bulbs go off in my brain, because it was a complete change from any pedagogy that I'd already been using. High Scope is all about shared control and the children having manipulation of their own learning. And that's really when I started to become passionate and think, yes, this is me. This is, something I could really believe in and also deliver to children. I think there are several moments, actually. It's more about seeing those light bulbs go off now in practitioners' heads. I loved working with children, and I feel I achieved a lot for the children that I did work with. But it was when I moved into training and consultancy that I think I've actually been able to make a real difference in the lives of children. Because I am affecting practitioners, I'm affecting the way they think, the way they behave, and therefore what outcomes they deliver to children. So rather than being a practitioner working with one set of children, or being a nursery manager working with one set of children, delivering to practitioners and managers, I'm actually able to hopefully have a positive effect on a much, much wider range of children. And I think that's what gives me job satisfaction now, and actually the motivation to sort of get up and drive for miles to some remote location to a nursery that's really trying hard, but just can't quite find that key to improving their practice. And when I go in and I coach, I mentor, I deliver training, I role model, and I come away and the practitioners sort of say to me, wow, I get it now, I see what you mean. They're the best moments for me. They're the moments that I feel I have the best practice for myself. Mainly it genuinely is about seeing practitioners enjoy their role again. Early years has changed so much since I first started. I started off with things like piles and, physical, intellectual, language. That's how we worked. Then to desirable learning outcomes, and now finally to early learning goals. And somewhere in the middle of that, a lot of practitioners, not everybody, lost that enjoyment and fascination and genuine interest of just being with the children. So much was focused on paperwork and observations and ticking this box and doing that. Actually, I felt the children were missing out because the joy had gone out of being with them and teaching them. So I think that's what still keeps me going, is that there are still practitioners who desperately want to do a good job, but have got a bit waylaid with some of what they think are the regulations and the things that you must do this, and Ofsted wants you to have 15 observations a week on each child, and I think actually they're quite relieved when I come in and go, I just want you to enjoy the children. I just want you to talk to the children and genuinely be curious about them. What's happening for them? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What can we do next? And the teaching and learning will grow from that. It just happens. And sad to say, the other thing that does also keep me going is those at the other end of the scale who actually aren't doing a very good job and really aren't that bothered either. Children deserve our best. If we're going to be in this profession, then we owe it to children to absolutely do the best that we can for them. And sadly, there are still a few settings out there who don't appear to have that at the core of their mission. I think as a trainer, and because I'm passionate about improving practice, that's the bit that I'm most interested in seeing. I must admit, I'm not totally clear at the moment what that is going to look like. I've heard Sam talk about, how it's going to work. But I'm afraid I'm a typical practitioner, and for me, it's the practical side. When I can see it happening, when I can, actually experience it for myself, I think that's when my role will become much clearer, and I'll be able to see exactly what I can contribute to that nursery life. But I'm really excited, actually. As you were saying earlier, I've been in early years for a long time, and this is something really quite new and interesting that I would never have thought really to be involved in. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to finding out what I can do, what I can contribute. Yeah, I think this for me is going to be quite a sort of an organic process. I'm very open to any new opportunities, any new learning. I'm not so old yet that I don't want to continue to upskill. So yeah, I think it's going to take me a while to really set myself any goals. And it also depends on the rest of the team as well. I might set myself a goal and then Sam or someone else say, no, that's not really what we want you to do. So I think at the moment I'm going to stay open-minded, enthusiastic, and wait and see what happens. For me, generally, it's heading in the right direction. We always seem to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I think the practitioners on the ground, the nursery owners and managers, are definitely heading in the right direction. Much more about following children's interests, shared control, things such as curiosity approach and loose parts and open-ended learning. For me, that is absolutely the way to go. Unfortunately, sometimes the government steps in, and I think we do end up taking a step backwards. I'm looking forward to the final version of Development Matters. I've read some of it at the moment, and I'm not sure. I think I'm going to reserve opinion until the final is out and until we've had a little while to see it in action. But definitely that step away from using the old Development Matters as a developmental checklist, that practitioners thought that children went from this to this to this to this. That's a definite positive step. And as I say, generally for me, the practice on the ground that has moved away from, oh right, in February we're all going to do fire engines. Why? Because it's time to do fire engines, so definitely all of the settings that I'm working with at the moment, whether they're using curiosity approach or in the moment planning or big floor planning books, whatever, it's all about following the children's interests and teaching through their interest. And that for me is absolutely the way that we should be going forwards. Well, I wish I'd got access to some of those fantastic quotes that are all about give me a child in the first 5 years of its life and I'll show you a man, all these wonderful inspirational quotes. But I really do believe that. I think that up until 5 years old, children are learning behaviours and attitudes. And I think if you have a child with and by behaviour, I don't mean like naughty behaviour and that kind of behaviour. I mean embracing learning, not being afraid to take risks, not being afraid to try and fail and start again. And for me, it's those behaviours and those attitudes about it's okay, I made a mistake, let's just do it again, let's learn from that mistake and let's do it this way. Sometimes it's not a problem. That for me is what makes a successful future citizen. I often tell some of my sort of students and the people that I'm working with, people told the Wright brothers that human beings wouldn't fly. If they'd have listened to those rules and followed them, we'd be a very different society today. Society has progressed because throughout history, people haven't taken no for an answer. They haven't just done what someone else has taught them to do. They've actually problem solved and worked it out for themselves, and they've had that drive to reinvent something, or to invent something new, or to, move forwards. And I really believe that if we instill that in under fives, it stays with them throughout primary school, junior school, secondary school, university. I think children who are encouraged to give it a go are society's future.